Hello, good evening, everyone. So, it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to the information seminar of the Department of Counseling and Psychology of Hong Kong Shue University. So, it's good to have some psychology on Friday night, right? So, I'm Dr. Jason Chao, and I'm the Program Director of the Master of Social Sciences in Psychology. So, welcome all of you again. Shue University is dedicated to provide quality undergraduate and postgraduate education in psychology. So it's actually, we are the first and the only university in Asia to provide professional postgraduate training in counseling psychology. We also provide a large range of postgraduate programs from play therapy to MPhil and PhD program. In this information seminar, we will first have a thematic talk on what is Chinese psychology given by Professor Catherine Sun, and then an admission talk given by Professor Catherine Tang. And then we will have some networking time so that you can feel free to approach our faculty members to ask or discuss anything about our programs, projects, or some potential collaboration. So first, let's have the thematic talk on Chinese psychology first. So this talk will be given by Professor Catherine Sun. Professor Sun is the academic vice president of the Hong Kong Shue University. She is also the president of the Asia Pacific Rim Confederations of Counselors, and she is also the pioneer in the research of Chinese psychotherapy. So now, without further delay, let's welcome Professor Sun.
Good evening. So we're talking about, thank you, psychology in Hong Kong. So I'd like to take you all over the place because when I was asked to do this talk, and I haven't talked about Chinese psychologists for ages, so I just pick a bit of something from here, from there, so I'll be all over the place. If I'm venture too far away, please pull me back, okay? And you have questions, I will have some time for you to ask me at the end of this evening, okay? So if we look at the US, psychology is the most popular major, and it has been for many years in the US. In Hong Kong, in 2021, so up to this year, the number of people applying for bachelor's degrees in psychology exceeds 18,000. So psychology is really, really popular. But you have to ask yourself, well, what kind of psychology are we studying? And is it relevant to our use? So I remember when I was young, which is about 4 decades ago, and the term psychology, 心理學, 心理治療, not popular. But today in everyday conversation, we hear references to psychology, psychotherapy. 你心理唔正常，你心理有病，你咩心理啊? This become very, very popular in everyday conversation. However, the very first time psychology appeared in China, was mentioned in China, was in 1857 when Joseph Haven published a book called Mental Philosophy. And it was translated by Yan Yongjing as the study of mind and spirit, 心靈學. So it's not yet psychology. And we have to wait some years later when in 1891, Harold Hofdijk, who is a Danish philosopher and also evangelist, published The Outlines of Psychology. 4 years later, Shintaro Ishita in Japan translated into psychology. And then it was translated into Chinese. So the first time the 3 characters, 心理學, appeared in China was in 1907. Okay. Well, if we look at the early years of the development of psychology in Europe and the US, psychology, philosophy, and religion were actually very close relatives. They weren't separated. Or even look at University of Hong Kong, who had the first undergraduate program in psychology. It was psychology and philosophy, and it wasn't separated until 1971. And the topics discussed at first included things that could be observed and things that could only be speculated. Observed is the ABC of psychology, affect, behavior, and condition. And what can be speculated is the nature of humanness, the meaning of life, and the soul. So this was all discussed under the umbrellas of psychology, philosophy, and religion. But as psychology grew, in Europe and in America, the psychology people were very eager to be recognized as a reputable, independent academic discipline. So the easiest way to do that was to package psychology as a science. And if it's a science, you can only study things that could be observed and measured, hence ABC, affect, behavior, and condition, meaning of life, the soul, nature of humanness, was swept aside. The first psychology lab was set up 10 years after Hofdick's book in 1917 by Cai Yuanpei. Cai Yuanpei was a student of Wilhelm Wundt, okay? And the National Peking University is actually now Peking University. So if the term psychology, 心理學, didn't appear in China until 1907, the interesting question would be, hey, did psychology exist before then? And did the Chinese have any concept of what's mental health and what's psychological health? You can't imagine a culture going for thousands of years without addressing these questions, right? But the term didn't appear until 1907. So if we look at the difference in the approach between Chinese and Euro-American, you will see that we take two different roads. Okay, in Chinese, we're talking about holism. If we look at traditional Chinese medicine, they do not separate body, mind, and spirit. You go into a Chinese practitioner, you're depressed, and think of a grandmother who doesn't have the term for depression. So she goes into the doctor and she said, 我心翳住. Okay? And we now look at your grandmother and say, oh, she was depressed. But the Chinese medical practitioner would take her pulse, right? And then would prescribe her some herbal medicine for a psychological condition. So you'll say, does that work? Well, if it's from a holistic point of view, it does work. And I'll explain that a bit later. And it is also an equilibrium-oriented approach. So you're talking about the dynamic interplay between body, mind, spirit. So this is the Chinese way of looking at mental health, psychological health. Now, in Euro-American tradition, the approach is the Cartesian dualism. Mind and body are separate, and we use a construct-oriented approach. So, something wrong with the body, that's the realm of the doctor, medical practitioner. Something wrong with the mind, realm of the psychologist. Something wrong with your spirit, okay, realm of the priest. But we don't separate that. In Chinese culture, 中邪, you can still go to a medical practitioner, okay? So what's the equilibrium-oriented approach? It's the association of 5 elements, 五行, okay? The viscera and the 5 emotions. So I really love this diagram, which I drew for a book, because it tells you how things are affected, okay? Now, if you look at down here, overthinking, obsession, 累, worry, anxiety, if you have that condition and you go to a herbalist, what does a herbalist do? The herbalist does not deal with your spleen or your pancreas. They do what? They do something with the liver. They increase the liver fire because according to this diagram, the liver or the wood, okay, can overcome the spleen or the earth. You see this arrow down here? This one? This one does not work, okay? So, you see here? And makes sense, right? When you're really angry, you're not anxious. You're not worried anymore. So, the Chinese approach to health, not just mental health, health per se, is the equilibrium orientation, or like in the Taekwondo, right? Yin is in yang and yang is in yin. You're talking about a balance. Therefore, when we look at the Yellow Emperor's internal classics, 黄帝內經, there are two different volumes, two different chapters to the internal classics. One is called the chapter on common questions, 素問篇. The other is called 靈樞篇, which is about acupuncture points. Okay? So in 素問篇, chapter of common questions, traditional Chinese practitioners are asked not just to concentrate on the disease, but they consider who you are, what your circumstances are, where in life you are, and they ask the question, why this person at age 29, okay, wanting to get into a postgraduate program in psychology, okay, has a case of anxiety or have a case of indigestion. So when, who, where, and which disease? So, but this question was asked thousands of years ago. Today, PNIs, okay, psychoneuroimmunologists ask the same question because diseases are not stand-alone conditions, right? COVID, okay? Some people are hit by COVID. Others are not hit by COVID. And not everybody who's closely associated with somebody infected gets COVID, right? So who at what time gets COVID? Okay? Now, psychoneuroimmunologists ask these questions because the finding is very clear. Scientific findings very clear. We're finding that your stomach lining completely renews itself every 4 days. So today is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Today we take a sample from your stomach lining, okay? On Monday, we compare. Cells are all different, okay? The skin, this is very good news for ladies, okay? The skin rejuvenates itself every month. The skeleton, which is harder, you get a new set of skeleton every 3 months. Now, the most complicated of the organs is the liver. You get a new set of liver, a different version of liver, every 6 months. Now, if we just look at these facts, you will say, why do you still get old? Why do you get sick? Right? So I'm showing this to tell you that from the Chinese point of view, or from the point of view of PNI scientists, we are saying that you get old, or you get sick, or you stay young, and you stay healthy, not as a result of the degeneration or the regeneration of your body, of your physical organs. There are other things, like external, the climate, for example, okay? Or like the COVID, or like stress at work, or what you're eating, etc. So we look at you as a whole person. This is the Chinese way, and this is the way that is now being adopted by psychoneuroimmunologists. Okay. So it would seem that PNI is assuming the holistic approach and also emphasizing a body-mind equilibrium. So we're all going Chinese, okay? Now, so I'm trying to point out the fact that Chinese culture has this very unique system of psychology. And if we look at Chinese psychology as a big umbrella, under it, the best developed discipline is social psychology, because Chinese is all about relationships, right? For example, if we look at Confucianism, the most talked about, the most outstanding values are benevolence and ritual propriety. So for every, if you look at Lai Gei, for every occasion, it tells you what to wear, what not to wear, what to say, what to sit, how to behave. Okay, it's very structured. Now, the three philosophies that underpins Chinese psychology, Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. Now, in Taoism, the holistic sense is very, very rich, because in chapter 42 of the Taoism, it says, 道生一，一生二，二生三，三生萬物，萬物負陰以抱陽，充氣以為和. Okay, so Tao begets one, one get two get three, etc. So it's talking about the interconnectedness and the holistic nature of our existence. And in chapter 25, it says, 人法地，地法天，天法道，道法自然. The modeling. So, the big things, medium-sized things, small things, they model after each other, and they have the same source. And so, if you're not kind to yourself, you're not kind to nature. And if you're not kind to nature, as we are not kind to nature, we're not kind to ourselves, right? The climatic changes, etc. Okay. Now, in Buddhism, I chose two simple phrases which embraces, to me, the essence of Buddhism. 萬般皆空，無常迅速. I trouble myself with how it should be translated, and actually went to a very well-known Buddhist scholar. And so he said that all is empty, or everything is equally empty. Okay, so when you cut everything down, I don't know what you call it, nucleus, proton, etc., it's all empty, right? The universe is 99.99% empty. Okay, 無常迅速. Okay, the uncommon, the unusual happens swiftly. Now, this is actually the Chinese way of thinking. Don't expect life to be normal. There's no normality. Change is the only constant. Okay, and 無常. Okay, the uncommon happens very swiftly. So, according to Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism, the guidance on Chinese behavior is 進則儒，退則道，隱則法. So when you're advancing in life, when your luck is with you, everything is going your way, then you rush forward. Okay, you observe benevolence, you observe ritual propriety, and you move ahead as much as you can. Now, when things are not for you, things are a little bit against you, what do? You take a step back and wait for your chance. Okay? 退則道. And when you've got everything that you ever look for in this life, then you can 忍. you can conceal yourself. Okay? So this is the guidance for Chinese behavior. So I'm thinking about if there's a central theme that we should be wary of, that we should be looking at when we develop Chinese psychology. And I think one of the themes is the importance that we must put on conceptualizing and comprehending the levels of consciousness. Because different schools of psychology, Euro-American, Jungian, Chinese psychology, were actually addressing different levels of consciousness. So I'm quoting from Ken Wilber's book, which is written in 1993, which has become a rather classic. So his book called The Spectrum of Consciousness, he looked at 3 levels of consciousness. The first is the level of the ego, and this is our self-image and how we see ourselves to be playing certain roles, okay? And incorporates both conscious and unconscious facets, and also the analytical and discriminatory components of your mind. Now, it is the realm of mainstream Euro-American psychology. The second level is the level of existence. So it's the level of the soma, body, and psyche, the total organism. So this level involves a fundamental sense of that I'm alive or I exist, okay? And the cultural foundation that shape your existence. Alternatively, we can look at this level of existence as a sensory reverent of our self-image. Okay, so 2 is the sensory reverent of 1. And this is the realm of cultural psychology. Okay. The third is the level of the mind. Now, these are levels. They're not hierarchical. Not one is better than the other. Okay, just levels. The third level is the level of the mind, and it refers to a mystical consciousness. And it's a feeling that I'm one with everything. I'm one with the universe. So it is about the relationship between the soma, the psyche, culture, and the universe as one. 道生一，一生二生三. Okay? The realm of Eastern mysticism and the realm of Jungian psychology. Jung was very, very affected, influenced, okay, by the Chinese way of thinking. So these 3 levels. So if we're looking at Chinese psychology, taking the holistic approach to being, there's a need to develop Chinese psychology at the level of the mind. So we have to think of several things, okay? Chinese psychology must be adequately founded on cultural renderings. You cannot take psychology and just stick it to the Chinese without considering the cultural environment. Does not work, okay? And because Euro-American psychology has developed systematically for so many years, we will want to include the essence of Euro-American psychology, but we must not blindly worship Euro-American psychology, because if you insist on only using an empirical approach to the study of Chinese psychology, it will not work. Because remember, I said at the very beginning, we're looking at 2 things. We're looking at the things that could be seen and the things that you speculate. A lot of Chinese psychology is where you can speculate. You know, if you translate what you can speculate into quantitative terms, there's so much that's lost in the transition, okay? And the third way to develop Chinese psychology is to fully utilize the tools that our cultures have bestowed upon us to achieve health in body, mind, spirit. For example, you have seen medicinal cuisine. I mean, we've all been, not victims, we've all been recipients of medicinal cuisine from our parents, right? From your mother, 煲湯, 淮山, 杞子, 當歸. That's medicinal cuisine. 氣功, okay? Mindfulness training, very Chinese in nature. Transformational meditation, okay? Out-of-body experiences. That your ability to transform your somatic reaction to the outside environment. There's been so much, not research, so much written about monks in Tibet who sleep outside during the night wearing a thin robe, and this is below zero, maybe 10 or 20, and the next morning you touch them, they're probably warmer than you. Okay, so these are the things that our culture have given us, and if we want to study psychology, psychological health in China, why not utilize these tools, okay, that we already have? So in parting, I want to share with you my attitude towards life. Now, pursuit of happiness is very European, very American. The Chinese actually has a very denigrating translation of happiness, 快樂. Just for an instant, the impermanence, okay? So Chinese actually don't go after 快樂. They go after 合意, go after cozy way of life, okay? So I think I'm looking for a good reference to a cozy attitude towards life, and this is what I found in chapter 8 of 道德經. 上善若水，水利萬物而不爭，處眾人之所惡，故幾於道。居善地，心善淵，與善人，言善信，正善治，善善能，動善時，夫唯不爭，故無憂. So the water personality is probably the best promise for you to have a cozy way of life, okay? So if you don't understand the Chinese, maybe the English, you can understand better. So my translation, okay? The highest good is like water. Water benefits all things, but does not compete with them. It resides in places most people find disdainful, hence it's closest to Tao. For a dwelling, keep to the ground. For matters of the heart, favor what is profound. In relationships, favor benevolence. In words, favor integrity. In governing, favor order. In handling affairs, favor competence. In activities, favor timeliness. It is when you do not compete that's when you cannot be faulted. Okay, so this is my little presentation on Chinese psychology. If you have questions, you're welcome to catch me before I leave and ask me. Thank you very much.
So, hello everyone. After the 10 minutes break, now it is very important to have our admission talk. So it's our honor to invite Professor Catherine Tien to give an admission talk to introduce the various postgraduate programs in our department. So Professor Catherine Tien is the Associate Academic Vice President of the Graduate School in Shue, and she is also the former chairperson of the Division of Clinical Psychology of the Hong Kong Psychological Society. So now, let's welcome Professor Catherine Tien.
Good evening for those who are online and those who are at the venue. Actually, it's close to good night. Thank you for coming for this submission talk. Do you all have your dinner yet? No? That's good. Okay. Today, I'm going to give you some food for thinking. And you will not be regretting these 2 hours with us, because I've been doing this submission talk for 30-something years, since 1991 at Chinese U, for the starting of the clinical psychology program there. And I have been doing this every year, not once, but sometimes twice a year, with local university as well as universities overseas in Singapore. So, and there's a lot of feedback coming to us that these 2 hours of mission talk changed my life. So listen very carefully as to whether this will change your life. Okay, so today I'm going to introduce principally the postgraduate programs of the Counseling and Psychology Department at Shue University. What a funny name. You could never, very seldom find this department named as Psychology and Counseling. We did it 20 or 30-something years ago, 20 years, more than 20 years. Because the higher ed diploma in counseling was changing to degree program. So we were talking about with Professor Sun back then many, many years ago that when Shue first started, it has a long history of offering counseling program. And then we were thinking of when they evolved into a degree awarding institution, we were thinking that we were not just satisfied with producing teaching skills. We need to teach something beyond skill teaching. We need to train people who are grounded in scientific knowledge. So counseling actually is a very generic term. So what we are offering, actually, when we look at the syllabus, back then we said that actually Shue back then already strived to anchor counseling in psychology already. So we renamed the department as Counseling and Psychology, meaning that we study the scientific understanding of psychology and apply it together, blend it together with the provision of professional training in counseling at various stages. Okay, both Professor Sun and I grew with the development of counseling psychology program in Hong Kong. We were so lucky to be born in the era before you. But also, in another way, you're very lucky that these are on your plate. So, could we have the next slide? I'm doing it, okay. What I'm presenting today, more and more I think we're presenting all of you a Michelin 5-star menu, okay, that you have taken and you remember and change your life. Okay, so on the left side of the screen, the fundamental training psychology major, and this part is the basic training belonging to the undergraduate program. This is not my focus today, but my focus is on the right-hand side of the slide. Now, for all of you who are here or online in the Zoom, you must have some interest in some of these recipes or in some of these dishes. So basically, the first part is professional training at the postgraduate or master or doctorate level. And the MPhil and PhD is the research training. So you can see that the Counseling and Psychology Department offer both professional and research training at the postgraduate level. Of particular importance that I think most of you will be interested is the first three, one to the middle column and one on the last column. Master of Social Science in Counseling Psychology or Master of Science in Play Therapy, Doctor of Psychology in Counseling Psychology. You can only get this, it's like a salesperson. You can only get this in Shue, in Hong Kong, and most parts of Asia. So Shue offered the first local Master of Social Science in Counseling in the year 2000. And after we're offering the program for several years, we think that it's time to also produce leaders and supervisors of master-level counseling psychology. So we offered the Doctor of Psychology in Counseling in 2016. And one of the uniqueness of professional training, particularly in Shue, is that we are very attuned to the society changes and the needs. And nowadays, we are so focused on our mental health, particularly our younger generation, children, and parents, and the relationship with parents. So we decided, and we look at the market needs in Hong Kong, and we decided that it's time to offer a very vigorous, based on scientific knowledge and scientific, underlying theories, to build on a professional skill in play therapy and offer it in a master level. So this is the first local program in play therapy. And for those, we also know that psychology, some of us in psychology, like myself, although I'm professionally trained as a clinical psychologist, but I'm also very interested in asking questions in clinical areas. And also, I'm very interested in finding my own answers. So what do? No, there's something for everyone. Then this is a place to go, MPhil and PhD research programs. Now, this is an overview of this 5-star restaurant. So what I'm going to do, and also that even though all those professional research programs, initial ideas is for those who already had a basic training, undergraduate training in psychology. But we understand when we were in undergraduate, a lot of people just chew it. In my age, it's whatever my parents want me to do. And nowadays, you're much better. You have a choice. But sometimes we don't know exactly what's happening. And sometimes we keep on asking, who am I? Who do I want? And for some people, they might not be pursuing psychology in the undergraduate degree. But later on, when they work for a few years and they finally find themselves and finally know what their interest is, and they want to go to psychology, there's another channel. They can take a Master of Social Science in Psychology, which is a conversion program. Taking this course equivalent to you have the fundamental training in psychology. This is not unique in Shue. Almost all universities that offer psychology will offer this type of conversion program. But our uniqueness is our psychology is blending with counseling. So in some of our courses, you will get in touch with both psychology and counseling, and at the same time fulfilling the undergraduate requirement of a psychology major. So, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about. At first, it was scheduled to be talking all the time, but I found all my colleagues, all the program directors are here. Then why listen to me, okay? I'm glad that you want to hear from them so that after the admission talk, you can grab hold of them and ask them the burning questions you want to ask. So let's go to the next. You may go to the Master of Social Psychology. Now, may I introduce the program director, Dr. Jason Chao, to introduce this Master of Social Science in Psychology. 5 to 7 minutes, okay?
3 minutes.
5 to 7.
So thank you, Professor Tien. So it's me again. So it is actually a surprise. She didn't tell us before. So 3 minutes, right? Actually, Professor Tien has already covered the most interesting, exciting parts of my program. So here I'm just going to give you some factual information of the program. So, and actually, just during the break, some of you asked me a question. So So, for example, if they're not studying psychology in their bachelor degree, but they want to explore more about psychology, or they want to explore a second career in psychology, what can they do? I would say that the answer may be something like a conversion program like this one, Master of Social Sciences in Psychology. So the program aims, what do we want to achieve is to provide non-psychology degree holders who have an interest in gaining psychological knowledge. So you may want to explore a future career in psychology. You maybe just want to satisfy your curiosity. So this program can be for you. So it serves as the first step for those who intend to pursue postgraduate research or professional training in psychology. Because if you want to apply for a professional training program like our Master of Social Science in Counselling Psychology or like clinical psychology, educational psychology, you need to have a psychology degree. Then this can be your stepping stone. So now we offer a part-time mode of this program, and the duration of the program is 2 years and 6 trimesters. And from here, you know that I'm the program director, so whenever you have some questions about that, you can always email me and ask me questions. So the total credits required for graduation is 36 credits. And some of you actually have compared the tuition fee of our programs with other programs, and you'll find that we actually is the cheapest, lower price program. But I can assure you that our program is not of low quality. High value, yes. Our quality is comparable, and I would say that low cost, yes, and maybe even higher, I don't know. So actually, I have been working for this kind of program for 6 to 7 years. I worked in other universities on this kind of program before. So I would say that like the course content, the quality, at least is comparable, but the price is lower, so high value. So the entrance requirement. So what do you need to do to enter this program? So you need to have a bachelor's degree with second-class honors above from an accredited university in an area other than psychology. Because if you have a degree in psychology, you don't need to apply for this program. You can apply for other professional training program. And then you need to pass a take-home entrance examination, and then you need to fulfill some minimum English proficiency requirement if your entrance qualifications from an institution where the medium of instruction is not English. So after this program, actually, you can join the Hong Kong Psychological Society as a graduate member and apply for other postgraduate training in clinical psychology, counseling psychology, IO psychology, etc. And then you can become a qualified family mediator with relevant working experience. So I think it's within 3 minutes, right? So now I will give it back to Professor Kathleen Tan. Thank you.
Thank you for responding to my last-minute appeal to come up to the stage. Now, appetizer. Now this is the main course. Master of Social Science in Counseling Psychology. The program director is Dr. Chao, and let me appeal to him to come up to explain the program to the rest of the audience.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Tang. I'm Dr. Rayson Chang. I'm the Program Director of the Master of Social Science in Counseling Psychology. And welcome to this session at Friday evening. And I share what Professor Tang mentioned. If you come to the admission, then it may change your life. If you take up a program with us, then it's your journey, like Professor Sun said, this counseling and psychology journey where you start. So don't go to the admission talk easily, because it may change if you take up our program. After Dr. Chao talked about the counseling, the psychology program, our program, the Social Science in Counseling Psychology program is different. If you have an undergraduate qualification then in psychology, then you may want to become counseling psychologist. I can tell you in Hong Kong, if you want to become a counseling psychologist, this is the only route of professional training. And then after the training, you can be qualified by the Hong Kong Psychological Society to practice as a counseling psychologist in counseling, in assessment, and in research. So this is a very unique opportunity to become a psychologist. So what are the program aims? The program aims is to train graduates to register with Professional Association in Counseling Psychology, and then to become a member of the profession of counseling psychology in Hong Kong. And it is well recognized in the community now. So the study mode can be full-time, part-time, and then normally it is 2 years full-time program in Hong Kong, and part-time up to 4 years. I'm the program director, Raisin Chang, and if you have further questions, you are welcome to contact me by email, and I'm glad to further talk to you. And just then we talk about the tuition fee. Still, there is this very low comparatively, high value. And also the credit hour is 63 credit hours. So you learn quite a lot. There will be a practicum, you go to internship, there will be research, and you have learned different modality of therapy. So it's a very rigorous training to qualify you to become a counseling psychologist. So the entrance requirement, if you want to are interested in our program, then you have to get a qualification that is recognized by the Hong Kong Psychological Association to become their graduate member. So to do so, you either have an undergraduate degree that is recognized, or a postgraduate conversion degree that is approved by the Hong Kong Psychological Society. Then we will have, if you apply, we have admission test, and then we will have interview for selection. So after you join this program, then you can join the Division of Counseling Psychologists under the Hong Kong Psychological Society and become a registered counseling psychologist after 1 year of supervision. Then you can be qualified as a counseling psychologist. So it is the first and unique program in Hong Kong for those, if you want to pursue this professional route. This is a unique opportunity. So, if you're interested, you have to be prepared for yourself because the training is rigorous, and then you have a lot of self-awareness, personal growth. So if you have more questions, you're welcome to contact me, and we can further talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Raisin, Dr. Chair. Can I have the next one? Okay, the next one we've been preparing for many, many years. We should have launched it a long time ago. We prepared this one for almost 10 years. And I would like to think of it as, nowadays it's very popular. When you go to a Japanese restaurant, what is most popular now? 廚師法版. Okay, this is something that we have been very carefully put together. And it's the only place you can study 2-year full-time, vigorous research and fundamental theoretical training in play therapy. And I'm very, very glad that we have our program director, Dr. Chao, to appeal to my last minute call to introduce the program to us.
Okay. I would rather standing on this side because most of our audience are here. I would like to ask whether among us there are people who are now working with children or have a strong interest in working with children. So if you are considering, you can put up your hands and let me know that. Okay, so I'll find you. Okay, that's good. For us, actually, this Master of Social Science in Play Therapy is a new program, but it does not start from zero in Hong Kong Shue University. Several years ago, we actually collaborated with the University of South Wales in providing the first master level play therapy program in Hong Kong. Actually, that program was quite successful. Almost all of our graduates have been successfully registered as BAPT professional members of play therapies. Okay, so And several years later, we launched our first NOCO, Master of Social Science in Play Therapy program, with good preparation and also strong passion for children, because we believe that one of the best way to influence a society is through the children. And you also, as all of us know, what are the situations that our children are facing now in Hong Kong. So that actually makes it crucially important. So you are looking for a quality program, and we are looking for the people who really have a passion, have love for children, and really want to change the next generation. Okay, so now the program. So Master of Social Science program, in play therapy, in our program, we have several important features. So here you can read the words, but I will just highlight some features. The first feature that you won't find anywhere is that it's both research and practice focused. And that actually help us to bring our play therapy practitioners into 2 tracks. So in the future, if you want to become a registered play therapist, you can stay with the practice track. But if you want to, for instance, in the future, to pursue like a doctoral degree, like some of our Hong Kong people, play therapists, they like to go to like a University of North Texas University for the PhD study, or stay in Hong Kong in our PhD programs doing children-related research. You can do that, because in our program we have both this practice and also the research, and they are kind of synergy. So when we design that, we already bring the our supervisor and in practice, and also researchers, supervisor, have some conversation together and try to launch it in a good way. Another important thing is that we know what is happening in Hong Kong, the play therapy. We know that only social workers who have the legislated registration could be actually have this possibility to be registered in APA, the Association of Play Therapy. Okay, so many of the other, psychology or counseling, what do we do? And we have this trouble and thinking about it. And then we think that in our program, we will have 2 tracks for the professional accreditation. So one is if you have a social worker degree, good. So you can go to the APT, yeah. But if you don't have, doesn't matter. We can go to another track. That is the APTA, the Austrian Asian Play Therapy Association. We also establish a very good relationship with them. Of course, not mentioning the Hong Kong Play Therapy Association, we have quite a number of discussion and talk with the chairs. Here, we want to tell about this program. So we have both the full-time and also the part-time track. So you can really accommodate according to your schedule. For full-time is 2 years, and for part-time is 3 years. And we have this 45 credits for the total for the whole program. You can see that our program is also low cost. It's a little bit actually high price than the psychology program, but a little actually lower than the Master of Counseling Psychology program. I'm not talking about the price. I want to make it clear for you that we want actually the clinical supervisors all are registered play therapy supervisors. And that also very highly help us, that really ensure our graduates that all their practice hours can be actually recognized by the professional bodies, okay? Another thing is that we have, in this program, so some entrance requirements, you can take a look here. So actually, we also offer different possibilities for people who have different background. So if you already hold a bachelor degree or postgraduate conversion degree in the field of counseling, psychology, social work, learns, and then you only need to have 1 year full-time experience working with children, then it's okay. You are eligible to apply for our program. If you do not have a degree in the above mentioned, but you still have a passion to work with children, what to do, and then you have, if you have at least 2 years full-time experience working primarily in helping capacity with children, we will consider case by case. And so this is actually a very brief introduction about our program. So if you have any interest and any questions, you are very welcome to ask me afterwards. I will give the time to Professor Tan.
Okay, so this one I'll talk about it. I need to do something, right? So as we launched, if you're with international standards, okay, master degrees is sometimes a mid-level degrees where they produce professionals to meet the societal needs. But sometimes we need trainers of these professionals. We need supervisors of these professionals. We need researchers into these professions to see what are the best evidence-based practice and what are the new findings. So in that way, we launched the Doctor of Psychology in Counseling, Doctor of Psychology in Counseling Psychology, and it's the first doctoral degree in counseling psychology in Asia. It's a 3-year part-time, and Dr. Pan is the program director, and she cannot be here. And if you want to reach out to her, you can email her. And the total credit depends on your background qualification in the master program. So anywhere from 60 to 75, okay? And don't just look at that number. It's per credit, okay? So it depends on how much you take up, okay? And in this program, it's basically, we admit a very small number each year. And you can tell the entry requirement is we aim to train senior professionals who are in the field for several years, and they want to, refresh the skills and build up the skills and train to be trainers, supervisors, or key administrators in the center. So we're training the leaders. Okay, so we are not accepting too many people. Okay, for those the three previous programs, we were admitting about 20 per year, full-time, 20 full-time equivalent per year. So, and for this one, we will be expecting no more than 5 or sometimes maybe less than that, okay? So, and now we come to another areas. All the programs we talk about is either professional or conversion program. And most of the coursework are taught courses. Okay, other than taught courses, you have practicum and research. So the 3 components are almost equal weighted. And the key for play therapy and counseling psychology, the key is the professional training. And now we come to 2 programs of the psychology and counseling department, which is research-based. And I'm very glad to introduce to a very important person that you must know if you're coming to Shue and study in counseling psychology. It's our current department head and also in charge of the MPhil and PhD in psychology. May I call upon Dr. Alice Lee?
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm Dr. Alex Lee, the head of department. So thanks for the introductions and also the talk by Professor Sun, Professor Tang, and also colleagues of the department. So like Professor Tang mentions, these 2 programs are a bit different from those that you just heard about. So it's a research-based program. So instead of taking a lot of courses, what you mainly will do when you study MPhil or PhD, you will do a research thesis. It's a very large-scale research studies. You will still have courses. You will have courses in research method, and in Shue you will also learn about interdisciplinary studies, so how to mix and integrate knowledge from other fields with psychology. and you also will have a more advanced research method course. So besides these courses, and then all your time, or most of the time, you'll be invested in doing your research thesis. You can, I would say the beauty of this program is that you can choose whatever you want, anything related to psychology. So if you want to do counseling research, it's fine. If you want to play therapy research, it's fine. If I want to do neuropsychology research, it's also fine. So if anything that you can think about and you are interested in psychology, you can try to do it. Like Professor Tan mentions, you're not only asking the questions, you're trying to answer the questions. Borrowing the words that from my colleagues. When you do research, 你可以任性一次，你做乜都得。係啦，我係同事好中意講呢樣嘢。Okay, so there are two levels. So you can choose to do a master or doctoral. It depends on the scale. And before you start, you declare a field of interest, and you also approach one of us, one of our departmental colleagues. So we look for a supervisor who will supervise and guide you through 2 years or even 4 years. So depending on the scale of your study. So you can choose full-time, part-time, or whatever. So like I mentioned, you will only have quite a minimal number of course requirements plus your thesis. And I'm not going to mention the tuition fee as all our colleagues mentioned the program's tuition fee, so I will just skip it. But I want to point out the point. You get paid. You get paid. You can receive postgraduate studentship, $15,000 per month as a full-time student. Well, of course, we are not going to just pay you for studying. It's not going to happen. You will help us to teach. Because the ultimate goal of the MPhil or the PhD study is actually to train academics, researchers, to work in university. So you need to learn, not only learn the research skill, you will also learn the teaching skill. So you will help us to lead some tutorials, of course guided by our full-time instructors, to help you to prepare materials, and you help them to deliver or to conduct some group discussion with the students. Through the process, you will learn to become academics. Okay, so the requirement is quite simple, as it's a psychology program. So we expect you to have a psychology degree. If you don't, you can go to Dr. Jason Chao and study a Master of Social Science in Psychology first. And if you are interested in PhD, of course, we will expect you to have a better performance in your bachelor degree or even having a master degree. So that will make your life easier. Okay. So besides the programs, I'm also asked to introduce some of our facilities in the department. So these facilities are not only available to MPhil or PhD students, it is also available to other program students, even to our undergraduate students. So, by learning the theme of these research center and laboratories will give you some possible idea of MPhil or PhD study research topics. Okay, so being a counseling psychology department, so we have a counseling research centers. So we have multiple counseling rooms for students to practice their counseling skills. And we also have observation rooms. In the old days, we used this kind of one-way mirrors. So in the old days, we used this kind of one-way mirror. But now, because of the video cameras, so we have a new observation room with a 360 video camera and recording. And besides that, we also have physiological meters to measure the client's blood pulse, blood pressures, skin conductance, or even the infrared measurements. So just like what you do when you walk in a shopping mall. So we can see the blood flow of the clients online. Okay, other laboratories includes a neuropsychology laboratories. We have the luxury to have 2 sets of EEG system in Shue, and both are workable. Both are 256 channels, which is the highest density possible currently in the market. And the most luxury part of this laboratory is that we have 2 bedrooms. So we do sleep research there. So we have participants stay overnight in the lab sometimes. And at Cognitive Psychology Laboratories, we have an eye tracker, and our colleagues do different kind of perceptions, memory, or attention research. Positive Psychology Laboratories, we promote, the lab managers promote positive living styles, a healthy living style. And as you can see, that there appears to be not too much equipment, because the major usage is that when they carry a group with school children, they will have them to come and do some activities together. And positive technology and virtual reality laboratories. So as technology is so common nowadays, from mobile phone to all kinds of virtual reality equipment, so we try to promote a positive use of this kind of technology. Psychological Lab Studio of Art and Creativity. So Dr. Ruth Chao, she is a play therapist in training, but at the same time, she is also experienced in expressive art therapy. So this is another kind of research area that you may want to explore. And school counseling and psychology laboratories. So besides having school counseling, so having children to come to do counseling sections, the lab manager is also interested in promoting or evaluating e-learning in school, and also some career counseling. So how to help the student to plan for the career. So actually we have a bit more. So this is just some of the laboratories. We have a couple more. If you're interested, you can go to our school our department website, and you will find a bit more information. Thank you.